At night, he continues to split wood until he has enough fuel. Thinking it over, he decides to borrow a chainsaw tomorrow. Using the axe is too exhausting. Inside, the sound of crackling wood fills the cabin. His wife, Agnes, prepares a hearty dinner including jerky, fresh cherries, and juicy meat. Their 2 daughters play cards, laughing continuously. Chip comments that tonight's meal, though simple, is diverse. It features a delicious deer tongue and a deer stomach containing tundra plants eaten by reindeer. Cooked and chopped, it's served with rice and tastes exceptional. A green vegetable called kale from the tundra, fermented after cooking, tastes great. Next to it is apakik, or raspberry, rich in vitamin C. There's also semi-dried reindeer meat, tasty to chew, and seal fat, extracted from a previously hunted seal. There's salmon caught at the Kukuchak camp and last summer's dried dogfish, which, after cleaning and drying naturally, has a mild flavor. Now, it's time to eat. Everyone picks their favorite foods, drizzles some seal oil over them, making it even more delicious. This is a typical Inuit dinner, gathering the family together. They enjoy the food, the happiness, and a truly carefree, joyful life. This is the process of making a mink trap. A nail is driven into a slanted wooden pole, then a set animal trap is tied to it. A piece of salmon is used as bait. When a marten tries to eat the fish, it triggers the trap and loses its life. Marten fur is highly valued, with an average pelt selling for about $150. Cody has been in the countryside for half a month, learning survival skills from Andy. He is particularly interested in setting traps, so he approaches the task with great care. However, since this is his first time setting traps, some aspects are not yet perfected. After a busy half-day, he has set several traps and now waits. The next day, Cody checks the traps alone without Andy, feeling somewhat nervous. To avoid getting lost, he follows the tracks from the previous day. Unfortunately, the first trap is empty, but Cody remains undeterred, knowing there are more traps. Despite the marten tracks in the snow, the remaining traps also yield nothing. As the sun sets, Cody finishes checking all the traps, but catches nothing. Trapping relies on luck, and he returns empty-handed. The following day is sunny. Andy has planned Cody's final test, to build a camp in the wilderness and spend a night alone. They ride the snowmobile to the destination. After some instructions, Andy heads home. Cody starts chopping trees but feels hesitant. He was informed only that morning about his survival test, which scares him. With not much daylight left, he hastens his pace. He constructs a simple frame with a few logs and drapes a tent cloth over it. Once the ropes are tied, a shelter is ready. The next morning, he emerges from the tent into a chilly wind. Cody feels tired but has no time to rest as he needs to prepare food for the puppies. He goes to the frozen river and starts breaking the ice, a physically demanding task. After collecting some ice blocks and melting them into water, he provides the dogs with water and dried fish. Once the dogs are fed and hydrated, Cody packs up. He has proven himself, and it's time to go home. The sled team eagerly heads back, quickly reaching the house. Andy and his wife come out to greet them, giving Cody high praise for his performance. The training course ends perfectly, and Cody graduates successfully. Their time together has built a deep friendship. Cody thanks Andy for his help, promising to forever remember this unforgettable experience. Living in the Arctic Circle in Alaska, fishing and hunting are essential daily activities. As descendants of the Inuit people, both men and women need to master survival skills. Today, Chip and his wife are preparing to teach their daughter trapping techniques, which are crucial for obtaining fur during the winter and a major way to support their family. Armed with animal traps, the 3 of them set out for the Kukuchak camp, located 40 kilometers away, where their family has traditionally gathered fur. After more than an hour, they arrive at the cabin. Finding everything in order, they first light the stove, planning to use this place as a base for their trapping efforts over the coming days. That evening, they head out with their equipment, as nighttime is when animals are most active, making it an ideal time to set traps. Chip places a trap in the middle of the ice river, using a salmon as bait. Since this area is already a fishing camp, the smells of fish and humans are common, so they don't need to hide their scent. Except for cunning wolves, other animals are unlikely to be suspicious. Now that the first trap is set, they move to another location to set a second trap. Carol is eager to learn. Despite being a girl, she is deeply interested in these activities. However, accidents can happen unexpectedly. While setting the trap, she almost gets her hand caught. Although not broken, it is hit hard enough to make her cry. Chip, feeling sympathetic, checks her hand and thankfully finds the injury is not severe. However, they decide to call it a day. They immediately return to the cabin to further comfort their injured daughter. Surviving in Alaska requires overcoming various challenges, a necessary part of growing up. The next day was sunny, a rare good weather day. Chip continued teaching his daughter trapping techniques. After demonstrating, they headed out. Across from the cabin was a marsh where they drove to set a trap in hopes of catching a fox. Chip explained and demonstrated the process clearly for Carol to understand. First, he dug a hole under the snow to simulate a small animal's den, which would attract the fox's curiosity. Chip then placed a trap inside the hole. As time passed and several traps were set, it gradually got darker. They went to check the traps set the previous day, but found nothing but bird droppings on them, which was unexpected. They checked the other traps, but similarly found no catch. Carol was somewhat disappointed, but Chip encouraged her, explaining that trapping often requires luck, and patience is a hunter's most important quality. When they reached the last trap, they finally had a surprise. A lynx caught while attempting to steal the bait, ultimately costing it its life. Carol was thrilled as this was the first animal she caught during their trapping sessions, making it a memorable experience. Following Inuit tradition, Carol was expected to gift her first fur to someone else, a practice that cultivates sharing among children. In Alaska, bartering is the primary form of trade, and learning to share is key to community integration. The session was a success, and Chip believed that Carol would surely become an excellent huntress in the future. Back in Norvik, the Hailstone family is preparing to hunt reindeer, an annual activity, as the reindeer gather during their migration. This attracts not only hunters, but also predators like gray wolves, lynx, and wolverines, providing hunters with opportunities to collect fur. Chip and his wife, needing to support their 5 daughters, put in extra effort for this hunt, which will last several days. They chose not to take any of their children, making it a trip just for the couple. They prepared various supplies for this lengthy journey that includes crossing the sea and navigating various dangers. Once ready, they set off, with Agnes particularly excited. She loves hunting and enjoys traveling with her husband, cherishing these moments as rare romantic times in the year. They are part of a semi-nomadic tribe, following game from March to the end of September, living in tents in the wilderness. Soon, they encountered their first problem. Their snowmobile got stuck on an uphill section. They got off, cleared the snow, and detached the sled behind it. Chip then drove the vehicle out of the snow pit, and together they pulled the sled out. With 4 hours of daylight left, they discussed and continued their journey, overcoming various terrains with their expert driving skills and reaching their planned destination before dark, 140 kilometers from home. Nighttime temperatures dropped sharply and strong cold winds could reach speeds of up to 70 kilometers per hour, making it essential to set up their tent quickly. They unloaded items from the sled, set up the tent over wooden poles, and spread the poles to erect the tent. After a dreamless night, they woke up to find that a pole had shifted due to the intense wind and had fallen on Agnes. They scrambled to secure the pole. Then, Chip cut some willow trees to lay as bedding under the tent to insulate against the cold ground. Since they would be living in the tent for the next few days, it was important to reinforce it. Chip cut snow blocks and piled them around the tent's edges to add weight and provide insulation. Next, he needed to start a fire. He gathered dry wood from an old storage rack, perfect for firewood, and chopped it with an axe. After his busy work, it was completely dark, and he was both tired and hungry. His wife prepared a cup of coffee for him. Tomorrow, they would begin their hunting. In the deep forest, the snow easily buries a person's knees. Glenn, holding a wooden stick, continuously taps the ground in search of a specific type of wood. By discerning the sound, he identifies it as the right type of wood. He clears the snow with his snowshoes to reveal the birch underneath and then splits it with an axe. Smaller pieces are crafted into fire drilling boards, while larger pieces are further chopped and shaved to make a fire drilling spindle. Located in the Arctic Circle's Brooks Range, Glenn lives alone in the mountains, over 300 kilometers away from the nearest human settlement. Fire is essential for survival, but he cannot buy matches, so he resorts to making fire by wood drilling. Now, He is teaching how to properly start a fire. The first step is to make a rope from a piece of dried reindeer hide, cutting a straight strip and removing all the hair, a task that requires patience, a quality Glenn has in abundance. Next, he needs to gather dry grass, a challenging task in winter as snow covers everything. Glenn walks several kilometers to find some quality dry grass, careful not to touch the snow and wet the leaves. The next step is to make the fire drilling tools. While the surrounding mountains are mostly spruce, he needs resinous birch, a very special type of tree. Having settled here for 10 years, Glenn knows the area well, including a nearby birch grove with thriving trees. However, he only collects deadwood from the ground. After making the tools, Glenn gathers some pine branches and crushes the dry grass to increase its surface area. As it gets darker, he begins the fire drilling process. Holding a blowpipe in his mouth, he wraps the animal skin rope around the spindle and starts rotating it, slowly at first, then faster. Soon, sparks are created. He places the sparks into the dry grass and gently blows into a tube. As the smoke thickens, he increases the intensity until the fire blazes. This is the method of making fire by wood drilling. If you can't manage it, it's fine. Just remember to bring a lighter. Now, feeling hungry, Glenn cooks a piece of moose meat in a pot, ready to reward himself. Despite the hardships of wilderness life, he finds joy in it. It's reindeer hunting season again, and the Inuit living in the Arctic Circle place great importance on this hunt as it's crucial for stocking up on food. The Chip couple crawls out of their tent, ready to head to the hunting grounds. Chip covers the lamp with cardboard to avoid scaring off the animals with the light. Every year at this time, they hunt as the reindeer are at their fattest, having grazed all winter. With the mating season approaching, the reindeer will stop eating and their weight will plummet, making this the last chance for the Inuit to catch plump deer. Now, over 300 reindeer gather on the tundra, busily grazing. The Chips quietly observe the well-fed reindeer, each a prime target. They silently don white hoods and coats to blend into the surroundings. However, before they can act, the reindeer suddenly scatter, likely sensing the hunter's presence. The couple puts their coats back on, restraining their killing intent, deciding it's too late to hunt today and not wanting to push the animals too hard. Yet, the reindeer soon stop and quietly resume grazing, intriguing Chip, who grins, showing his yellow teeth, and chuckles while looking at the distant herd. The couple then turns and leaves, planning to continue hunting the next day. Some wind has picked up, which might affect their plans, but they need to cherish every day, as it's their last chance to get reindeer meat, which is not only for eating but also an important economic resource through trade. Soon, they reach the hunting grounds and Chip uses binoculars to scout. A small group of reindeer is seen quietly grazing. To avoid startling them, the couple decides to silently make their way to the mountaintop to wait for more reindeer. Once at the top, they crouch down to observe a group led by a male reindeer followed by females. Agnes takes aim and fires, but the wind affects the shot, missing the target. The reindeer flee. Agnes reloads, takes a deep breath, and fires again, but still misses due to the wind. The couple then rides their snowmobile toward the fleeing herd. Once within range, Agnes jumps off, takes aim at the running deer, and despite the difficulty of hitting a moving target, her skill as a top hunter allows her to adjust for wind and distance, and her second shot hits its mark. Chip is immensely impressed, showering her with compliments, enhancing their marital harmony. They drive over to find the reindeer still alive. Chip, taking a small knife, ends its suffering. The deer is very fatty, promising good meat quality. Agnes admires it while Chip swiftly skins it and packs everything but the inedible organs onto the sled before they joyfully head back. The next day they set out again, as one reindeer was not enough to satisfy their appetite and the weather was exceptionally good. Soon they spotted a few reindeer running up the mountain, followed by a large herd. Seizing this rare opportunity, Agnes took a shot but missed, hindered by her sunglasses. After removing the sunglasses, she fired again and hit a reindeer. However, Agnes didn't stop there. She fired 3 more shots, each hitting its target. The couple drove to the location and found the first reindeer, which had already stopped breathing. Nearby was the second reindeer. They decided to process the animals on the spot, gutting them and removing the organs before taking the reindeer home. Outside their temporary tent, they set up a wooden rack hung with reindeer meat, swaying in the wind. Emerging from the tent, the Chip couple prepared to continue processing the reindeer. They had shot a total of 5 reindeer, all plump females. They had not skinned the animals the night before because they were too tired and wanted to retain the heat in the meat to make it more tender and improve its flavor. March reindeer meat is considered the best of the year. They hung the divided meat on the rack, and looking at the bountiful scene, they concluded their hunting trip perfectly. Do you know what it feels like to live alone in the wilderness? Glenn is often awakened by the howling of wolves in the early mornings. Carrying his gun, he goes out to hunt as the howls echo around him. Unable to resist, Glenn mimics the howls, and from hundreds of meters away, a wolf responds. Excited, he runs towards the sound. Wolves, being top predators, lead a simple life focused on hunting, similar to Glenn's lifestyle, which gives him a special affinity for them. Out of respect for such a formidable opponent, he insists on killing the wolf himself. There's a notable story between Glenn and a wolf that took place 7 years ago. He had followed the tracks of an injured reindeer, chased by a wolf, all the way to a cliff. Cornered, the reindeer jumped into a ravine, and naturally, it became Glenn's trophy. He skinned the deer, used its rib cage as a container to pack its limbs, and dragged it out of the ravine, making for an unforgettable day, and he genuinely thanked the wolf for it. Now Glenn has found moose tracks. Following them, he discovers a pit where a moose had rested the previous night, evidenced by some moose droppings nearby. He also finds wolf paw prints and a patch of yellow liquid nearby, which he smells and confirms as wolf urine. Clearly, the wolf is tracking the moose, which excites Glenn. Could history be repeating itself? He continues following the tracks, but never sees the moose. Other animal tracks appear, and he seems to have lost his quarry, so he wanders around the ridge, hoping to stumble upon the moose and also to clear a path. After a while, he spots a spruce grouse pecking at conifer needles in a tree. Typically found in groups, Glenn looks around and spots 3 grouse. He is a sure shot, but the challenge lies in firing 3 shots in very quick succession, or the birds might fly away. He fires his gun. The first shot hits its target. He then takes 3 steps to the right, turns, and fires again, downing the second grouse. Turning on the spot, he fires a 3rd shot, hitting the last target. He begins collecting his prey. The first grouse looks plump. Not far is the second, and further away, the 3rd. Having bagged 3 grouse, Glenn can feast well tonight. Although he didn't catch any large game today, catching 3 grouse still makes the trip worthwhile. A woman, holding a knife, gestures through the snow as a curious fox watches her. This is the Kivik River camp in the Arctic Circle, where Sue lives alone. Today, she craves the taste of fresh fish. About 10 kilometers from here, there is a lake where she plans to ice fish for trout. After gathering her supplies, she drives off. It's late March and temperatures are starting to warm up. The busiest season at the camp is about to begin, and Sue's time to gather fresh food is limited. Half an hour later, she marks a spot with a shovel and takes out a tool, an ice auger. Once activated, it spins rapidly, throwing up shards of ice. Unfortunately, there's no water under the ice hole. She moves to the center of the lake and tries again, but still finds no water. She drills more holes in the surrounding area, but no miracles occur. Feeling discouraged, Sue realizes her ice auger, only 1.2 meters long, might be too short for the thick ice, preventing her from fishing. Frustrated, she decides to explore the area, likening it to the thrill of opening a mystery box. Soon, she spots some tracks in the snow and investigates. They are fresh wolf tracks. Normally, encountering wolves would be exciting, but today, Sue only has a .44 caliber rifle with her, which has a short range and is inadequate against wolves. She might end up as their prey instead. Changing direction, Sue continues her patrol. After a while, she notices an animal in the distance, but the sunlight reflecting off the snow makes it hard to see clearly, even with binoculars. She drives closer, yet still can't identify the animal. Her curiosity piqued, she prepares to move closer when the animal finally moves. It's 2 foxes. Sue likes foxes and would not hunt them. On her way back, she unexpectedly encounters a ptarmigan, a rare delicacy in the Arctic Circle. Sue picks up her rifle and shoots at the ptarmigan, noticing more nearby. She fires again and downs another ptarmigan. Although she didn't catch any fish today, bagging 2 ptarmigans is a pleasant surprise, ensuring she doesn't return empty-handed. Sue starts preparing dinner. cutting the ptarmigan meat into small pieces and cooking it with onions to remove the gamey taste. Smelling the delicious aroma, she swallows her saliva. She also prepares a glass of malt beer, takes her meal outside, and enjoys the food while admiring the scenery. Although life here is hard and lonely, Sue relishes it. She enjoys the freedom and feels her life has significant meaning. Watch closely as a man places a bone between two rocks. It's from the right lower leg of a rather nonchalant bull moose. The man lifts a rock and smashes it down onto the bone, breaking it into several pieces with a loud crack. He picks up a fragment containing what he was looking for: moose bone marrow, a delicious delicacy that tastes excellent eaten directly. He quickly consumes it. This is Alaska within the Arctic Circle, where Glenn lives alone in the wilderness, sustaining himself by hunting and fishing. In the harsh Arctic conditions, the importance of fat is obvious. It's essential for staying warm. Glenn needs to consume over 200 grams of fat daily to avoid feeling hungry. Here the diet is primarily meat and fat. Consuming too much protein can lead to poisoning, but there's no such risk with fat, allowing for indulgence. After a satisfying meal, Glenn gets to work. Snowshoes are indispensable here due to the thick snow. He prefers a primitive lifestyle, walking to hunt. Today, he plans to blaze a new hunting trail up the mountain, which rises 366 meters above the lake. Properly geared up, he sets off. The purpose of this new path is to better observe animal activity and intercept them using the trail based on their tracks. Though challenging at first, once the route is established, it makes things much easier. Midway up, he spots a set of faint tracks, which he identifies as ptarmigan from experience. This is exactly why he's creating the path, to understand the surroundings of the valley. As the path steepens, for safety, he removes his snowshoes and continues climbing using hands and feet. His boots are equipped with anti-slip studs, allowing him to easily navigate the steep terrain. He continues clearing the path to the ridge, and by evening, the view from the mountaintop is captivating, leaving him utterly enthralled. The next day, under bright sunshine, Glenn continued to develop the trail. Today's mountain path was more perilous than yesterday's. The mountain was about 6,500 meters away from his current location and reached an elevation of 900 meters. In the cold environment, staying outdoors for a long time posed a risk of frostbite. After walking a kilometer along the valley, Glenn saw no fresh tracks. The area was currently experiencing a scarcity of food. It wasn't until he started climbing that he spotted ptarmigan tracks. The wind on the mountain was significantly stronger than in the valley, and Glenn felt a chill. Soon he discovered another type of track. A pack of wolves had recently passed through, likely in pursuit of prey. Glenn decided to follow the tracks to see if he could capitalize on their hunt. Reindeer were scarce in the area, and he could hardly find any, but wolves have sharp senses. By following them, he could locate areas where reindeer might be found. The wolf tracks led towards the summit. Glenn moved quickly, hoping to scavenge from the wolves. Generally, wolves are wary of facing Glenn. However, last year an incident occurred. A pack of 20 wolves, feasting on a moose, attacked when they saw Glenn approaching. He had to shoot 3 wolves to deter the rest. Now at the summit, Glenn found only more tracks and no animals. Today's attempt to scavenge was unsuccessful, but he was not discouraged. As the climate warms, more animals will emerge, and he just needs to wait patiently. With daylight dwindling, it was time for him to head home. Spring has arrived, and everything is reviving. It's a restless season. A small boat moves along the river with the Chip family aboard. A group of reindeer appears ahead. Chip grins, a hint of menace in his smile. Sensing danger, the reindeer enter the river and start running. This captures everyone's attention, prompting them to sit up straight. Agnes and her eldest daughter move to the bow, squint, and open fire on the reindeer. Unfortunately, they miss slightly. Startled, the reindeer scatter. The two take turns shooting as the reindeer desperately flee further away. Chip jumps out of the boat and wades after them, with Agnes following close behind. They are on the Kavik River, 140 kilometers from their Norvik home. This season, they will teach their 5 daughters how to hunt, gather food, and survive, passing down ancient skills. The Chip couple follows the direction of the fleeing reindeer, but find no blood, confirming they missed. Shooting from a moving boat is challenging. They continue towards the camp, quickly needing to reach it. Some ice remains on the shore, requiring careful boat handling during landing. They start transferring supplies from the boat to a flat clearing, then set up a shelter. The sun is setting, and they must finish before dark. The girls are excited about this rare trip. The tent has a small stove that keeps it warm once lit. The next day, they emerge from the tent and start a busy day. First, they find a place to store items to protect them from the weather. Staying dry is crucial in the Arctic, where temperatures reach -40 degrees Celsius. Wet clothes can be deadly. With a cabin, they can conveniently cut fish or meat. The girls build their sleeping hut. Now it's time to find food. This place is ideal, with forests upstream, the ocean downstream, and mountains around. Swans are in the sky and reindeer on the ground. A hunting paradise. Chip rushes back. Reindeer are everywhere. The group enters hunting mode, grabs their guns, and moves forward. They spot a group of reindeer. Chip flashes a wicked smile. They crouch in the bushes, watching silently. The reindeer have just entered the water. They rush forward. The crossing reindeer are trapped. It's a rare opportunity. They run to a strategic spot and fire the first shot. Agnes and her daughter take turns shooting. Agnes needs to reload, while her daughter uses a semi-automatic. The reindeer jump, dodging bullets with agility. It's a fierce scene. Agnes looks fierce. These reindeer are tougher than expected. After many shots, the reindeer still sprint gracefully. Agnes has hit 2. Chip calls a stop. 2 are enough. The Inuit value ecological balance and hunt responsibly. The reindeer are not yet dead. Chip brings the boat over and they head to the opposite shore. They can't let the wounded reindeer escape, or they'll spend more effort tracking them. They see the reindeer. Agnes fires again, ending its suffering. This large reindeer will feed their family for a week. They decide to process the meat on site and teach their daughters. They load the cut meat onto the boat. Now with food secured, they can do other tasks. Meanwhile, Agnes prepares delicious reindeer meat. The aroma spreads. Chip eagerly anticipates it. The reindeer meat is perfectly roasted, and the family enjoys the meal. Eating outdoors has its unique charm, with laughter filling the air. Swans fly overhead, their next target. Chip notices swans landing on the distant river. He quickly calls Agnes. As she comes out, they see 2 swans. Their daughter Carol, careful not to startle them, slowly backs away. Agnes mimics swan calls while loading her weapon. Their daughters quietly observe. The couple continues imitating swan calls, attracting 2 more swans. Now the time is right. Agnes pulls the trigger, startling the swans into flight. The couple prepares to teach their 5 daughters how to hunt waterfowl. Numerous birds fill the sky, migrating. The main hunters are the eldest and second daughters. The others just watch. They build a barrier with branches to create a blind spot for the swans, hiding underneath while waiting for the swans to arrive. Chip goes to gather firewood. The younger girls eat crisps and listen to their eldest sister share hunting tips. After a while, swan calls echo in the sky. 2 swans swoop by. The second daughter takes a shot but misses, shyly smiling. The noise startles the sleeping dog. A flock of swans flies by without stopping. The eldest sister keeps the girls quiet. 2 straggler swans appear. She mimics swan calls. As they draw near, she decisively shoots, but the gun jams. An awkward moment. She mutters as her sister fires several shots, all missing, while the swans fly away. Though she missed, the second sister feels thrilled. The eldest didn't fire, covering her embarrassment with a sheepish smile. Soon, a swan flies low over the water. The eldest sister mimics calls again, sees an opportunity, and shoots, but misses again. The weather cools. They've been waiting long with disappointing results. Chip returns in the boat, reporting many birds downstream. Now the 2 elder daughters follow him while the rest return to camp. They set off in the boat, reaching a clearing with many swans. The girls crouch and move forward amid numerous bird calls. They split up. The second sister drives the swans while the eldest waits for a chance. Startled, the swans fly directly towards the eldest, who takes her shot and hits one. It spirals down into the river. The second sister calls for the boat while the eldest stays to watch. Chip drives the boat to the site, and the second sister retrieves the swan from the water. They hurry back to camp, where everyone eagerly awaits. Tonight they'll feast on stewed goose, excitedly anticipating the meal.